Imagine opening one of the most remarkable books in the Bible, only to discover that it never mentions the name of God. No miracles, no prophets, no burning bushes, no heavenly voices. At first glance, the Book of Esther seems different from every other biblical story. Yet for more than 2,000 years, readers have found something extraordinary hidden within its pages. Some believe Esther's story points towards someone who would come centuries later. Could a Jewish queen living in the Persian Empire reveal something about Jesus long before his birth? The answer is not as simple as yes or no, but it begins in one of history's greatest empires. Nearly 500 years before Jesus was born, the Persian Empire stretched farther than almost any kingdom the world had ever seen. From India to Ethiopia, more than 127 provinces obeyed a single ruler, King Ahasuerus, known to many historians as Xerxes I. His palace at Susa glittered with marble columns, gold decorations, colorful fabrics, and treasures collected from across the empire. Archaeologists have uncovered parts of this magnificent palace, confirming the incredible wealth described in the Bible. Yet beyond its walls lived thousands of Jewish families. They had survived exile. They had built new lives. Yet they remained strangers in a foreign land. Among them lived a young woman named Hadassah. Most people know her by another name, Esther. The Bible describes her as beautiful, but beauty alone is not what changed history. Her greatest strength would prove to be something far more valuable: courage. Esther had been raised by her cousin Mordecai after the death of her parents. He became more than family. He became her protector, teacher, and guide. When King Ahasuerus searched for a new queen after Queen Vashti's removal, young women from across the empire were brought to the palace. Esther was one of them. The Bible tells us that she found favor wherever she went. Eventually, the king chose her above all the others. A Jewish orphan became queen of the most powerful empire on earth. It sounds almost impossible, yet the Book of Esther never says this happened by chance. Instead, every event seems to move quietly toward a purpose that no one could yet see. Curiously, even though God's name never appears in the book, many readers have noticed his fingerprints everywhere. In unexpected meetings, in unlikely promotions, in perfectly timed decisions. It is almost as though the story whispers instead of shouting. Then, darkness entered the palace. A high official named Haman rose to enormous power. Proud and ambitious, he expected everyone to bow before him. Everyone, except Mordecai. The Bible never says Mordecai acted out of pride. Whatever his reason, his refusal filled him with rage. But revenge against one man was not enough. Haman decided to destroy every Jew living throughout the Persian Empire. Using the king's authority, he issued a decree ordering the complete destruction of an entire people. Men, women, children. All on a single appointed day. The order spread rapidly across the empire. Fear spread with it. Imagine receiving news that your entire nation had been sentenced to death. There would be nowhere to hide, no army to defend you, no kingdom to rescue you, only silence and despair. When Mordecai learned what had happened, he tore his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth and ashes, and cried out in grief. Soon, Esther heard the news. Safe inside the palace, she had not yet understood the full danger surrounding her people. Mordecai sent her a message that would become one of the most famous passages in the Bible. Do not think that because you are in the king's palace, you alone will escape. Then came the words that have inspired generations. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Those words changed everything. Until that moment, Esther was queen. Now she faced becoming something much greater, a woman willing to risk everything for people who could never repay her. Approaching the Persian king without being invited was punishable by death. Even the queen was not exempt. One step into the throne room could cost Esther her life. She understood the risk. She understood the law. She understood the consequences. And yet, after asking the Jewish people to fast for 3 days, Esther made one of the most courageous decisions recorded in Scripture. She said, "If I perish, I perish." Those 4 words have echoed through history for centuries. They reveal not certainty, but faith, not fearlessness, but courage despite fear. And it is here that many Christians begin noticing something remarkable, not a prophecy, not a prediction, but a pattern. A woman willing to place herself between her people and destruction. A woman prepared to give up her own life so others might live. Could this story be pointing towards something even greater? That question would shape centuries of Christian reflection. And in the next chapter, Esther will walk into the throne room, not knowing whether she will leave it alive.
The palace fell silent as Esther approached the king's throne. Every step echoed across the polished stone floor. Around her stood guards, nobles, and servants, each one knowing the law. No one entered the king's presence without an invitation, not even the queen. One word from the king could end her life. For a brief moment, the future of an entire nation rested on a single decision. Would the king show mercy or judgment? Then, the Bible tells us something extraordinary. King Ahasuerus extended his golden scepter toward Esther. It was more than a royal gesture. It was an invitation to live. The sentence of death hanging over her disappeared in an instant. Esther had found favor. Instead of making her request immediately, Esther did something unexpected. She invited the king and Haman to a banquet, then another banquet. To many readers, this seems like an unusual delay. Why wait? Why not reveal everything at once? Some scholars believe Esther understood that timing can change history. Wisdom is not only knowing what to say, it is also knowing when to say it. As the second banquet began, the king once again asked Esther what she desired. This time, she spoke. "If I have found favor in your sight, grant me my life and spare my people." The room must have fallen into stunned silence. Until that moment, the king had no idea that his own queen belonged to the very people Haman had condemned. Esther revealed the truth, not with anger, not with revenge, but with courage and honesty. She stood between her people and destruction. The king demanded to know who had planned such evil. Esther pointed directly at Haman. The adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Everything changed in a single moment. The man who had believed himself untouchable suddenly found himself standing before an angry king. The decree he had written now exposed his own wickedness. Eventually, Haman was executed on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. The Bible presents this as one of its greatest moments of dramatic reversal. The proud are humbled, the innocent are delivered. The planned destruction of God's people is turned into celebration. Even today, Jewish communities around the world remember this victory during the festival of Purim. This is where many Christians begin noticing deeper themes within Esther's story. Not because Esther predicts Jesus by name, she does not, and not because the Book of Esther contains a direct prophecy about the Messiah, it does not. Instead, they notice what biblical scholars often call foreshadowing or typology. Throughout the Bible, certain people and events seem to reflect patterns that later appear in greater fullness. Moses delivers Israel from slavery. David defeats the giant who terrifies God's people. And Esther willingly risks her own life to save her nation. These stories are complete in themselves, yet many Christians believe they also prepare readers for the larger story of redemption found in the New Testament. Think about Esther's decision. She did not have to act. She was already safe inside the palace. Remaining silent might have protected her for a time. Yet she chose to identify with her people rather than hide from them. She accepted personal risk for the sake of others. For Christians, this echoes one of the central themes of the New Testament: sacrificial love. The comparison is not exact. Esther was a human queen. Jesus, according to Christian belief, is the Messiah and the Son of God. Their missions are different, their identities are different, but many believers see a similar pattern. One steps before an earthly king to plead for her people. The other, in Christian teaching, gives himself for the salvation of humanity. Perhaps that's why Esther's story has remained so powerful across the centuries. It reminds us that courage is rarely the absence of fear. More often, courage is choosing to do what is right, even when the outcome is uncertain. Esther did not know how the story would end when she walked into the throne room. She only knew that remaining silent was no longer an option. And in that decision, generations of readers have discovered one of the Bible's most enduring examples of faith, sacrifice, and hope. But one question still remains. Did Esther actually predict Jesus, or are we seeing something else hidden within the pages of Scripture?
So, did Esther actually predict Jesus? The answer is no, not in the way the prophets Isaiah or Micah did. The Book of Esther contains no direct prophecy about the coming Messiah. In fact, it never even mentions God's name. Yet for centuries, many Christian scholars have seen something remarkable within its pages. Not a prediction, but a pattern. The Bible is filled with stories that seem to prepare readers for a greater story still to come. Esther is one of those stories. A young woman risks everything to stand between her people and destruction. She approaches the king knowing it could cost her life. Her courage becomes the turning point that saves an entire nation. For Christians, this reflects a theme that reaches its fulfillment in the New Testament. Not because Esther and Jesus are the same, they are not, but because both stories reveal the power of sacrificial love, one person choosing to act for the sake of many. There is another fascinating detail. The Book of Esther is the only book in the Bible where God's name never appears. At first, that seems strange, but perhaps that is exactly the point. Even when God is not mentioned, many believers see his hand quietly guiding the story. A young orphan becomes queen. A forgotten conversation uncovers a conspiracy. A sleepless night changes the king's decision. Events that appear ordinary suddenly become extraordinary. It is a reminder that not every act of providence arrives with thunder or miracles. Sometimes, history changes through quiet moments that seem almost invisible until we look back. Perhaps that is why Esther's story continues to inspire millions of people today. She was not the strongest person in the empire. She commanded no army. She performed no miracles. Yet when the moment came, she chose courage over comfort. Silence would have been safer. Speaking out changed history. Maybe that's the true message of Esther. Not that she predicted Jesus with words, but that her life reflected a pattern of courage, sacrifice, and hope that Christians later recognized in the story of Christ. Whether you see Esther as a historical queen, a heroine of faith, or a foreshadowing of a greater story, one thing is undeniable. Her decision altered the destiny of an entire people. And more than 2,400 years later, the question Mordecai asked still echoes through history. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Perhaps those words are not only about Esther. Perhaps they are an invitation for every generation to ask what courage looks like in their own lives. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more fascinating stories from the Bible, where history, faith, and timeless questions come together.